Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Seun Sonoiki, and I'm legal counsel for Lamata. Lamata is a Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, a transport agency that regulates public transport in Lagos State. So today I'll be talking about inclusive interchanges and including safer public transport for women and girls. So sometime last year, Lamata embarked in a project which we call the Inclusive Interchanges Design Brief. And this is to look into interchanges in Lagos. We understand that interchanges are a focal point of in the city life. And this is where we have transport, we have commercial activities and social interactions, weaved together. So it's essential for us to get this right. Where we are unable to get this right, it causes problems. People are not able to move around, they are not safe, using public transport, and so many other things. So we've also realized that the challenge of integrating the new formal public transport with existing informal public transport is not just peculiar to Nigeria, but then it's predominant in other African states. So we embarked on this project in collaboration with our colleagues in SLR Consulting. And the whole idea of this project was to develop a pilot inclusive interchange design brief, which just serves as a template, for things we must include to the development of our interchanges, ensuring that they are inclusive, ensuring that we bring in commercial activities live, so to say, into them. And this template is going to be used by public transport authorities, urban planning authorities, and it helps us to identify and include key details which we should look out for in ensuring that these interchanges are inclusive. So the template for the inclusive interchange design brief, which is the IIDB, is structured in a way that we have about 55 design topics that spread across 4 major categories. And these are the multimodal sustainable urban mobility. We have comfort and safety, hubs for public life, and integrated planning and design. But because of time, I will just center on comfort and safety. So this picture here shows the animation of our Mile 2 interchanges. In the course of our findings, we carried out case studies in 2 major interchanges, which are Marina and the Mile 2 interchanges. We have here, as we can see, 3 bus terminals within the loop of the expressway junction and the existing rail station in the background. So we'll move on to safe and inclusive interchanges. And this takes us to where we plan for the provision of public toilets and baby changing facilities. And not just for passengers, but for the general public. We make this available for the general public, and we have this managed by private companies, which we give a concession to, and they would be taking a low charge, for the use of the toilets, and they would also manage, and maintain them. So the Mile 2 interchange plan provides for segregated facilities for women and men, and including disabled access cubicles. We also plan for safety of women at the interchanges because we realize that women experience a lot of physical harassment in public transport and in public spaces. And we have found that there's a need for us to address this issue. Like we have heard today, so many other speakers have mentioned about this. And so we also found that the need to include good sightlines, ensure we have surveillance, physical presence of surveillance as well as digital. And also we considered some options, such as providing specific waiting areas for women and families at various terminals. We have done a lot of research on this on our Empower project, where we came up with a She-Can tool that addresses safety for women and girls. So I'll talk briefly on that. I hope I still have time. Okay. I do? Okay. So, so that's the Shikan tool, which came about from the research that we had done on the Empire in collaboration with SLR and some other partners that we have in 10 other African countries. And we did a stakeholder mapping with stakeholders from various sectors, such as the government sectors, transport sectors, and non-NGOs, and also particularly NGOs with women protection activities. And we also had focus group discussions, and from our findings from the focus group discussions, we realized that there was a lot of people who did not understand what sexual harassment meant. Like somebody asked the question, about how verbal, can sexual harassment be? It could be inappropriate remarks, somebody giving unwanted sexual advances, making sexual advances or saying things that are not welcome, to the other party. It also involves physical contact, and most of these things are unfortunately unreported. So we had pictograms to help us define this, and from our findings, we realized that a lot of perpetrators were from passengers, crew, conductors, drivers, and even, touts at the bus stops. A lot of them occurred while passengers were waiting at the bus stops, at the bus terminals, and also in the vehicles. So we came up with measures which we suggested, such as the increase in security personnel, so just having physical security as well as digital security, that's CCTV, the introduction of apps where victims can report incidences, and then hotlines where people can call, either victims of sexual harassment or witnesses of sexual harassment. There was also a suggestion to have women-only services. But then, Lagos being an overpopulated city, it might be difficult for us to drive that because, you have so many people relying on public transport, and during the peak periods, you have a lot of rush in and all that. There was also a need for us to increase our public awareness. We carried out surveys, and I'll just mention a few of the findings of the surveys. 68% of respondents had experienced sexual harassment, and out of this 68% of respondents, some had seen it occur, like grouping, verbal abuse. There were poor infrastructures in place which intensified the feeling of insecurity for women. And where women are insecure, they tend to not travel when they want to travel or when they need to travel. It also serves as a deterrent for how they also need to travel. There was also unreporting channels in place, no helplines available. And there was a need for us to come up with a tool to help decision makers make easy and prompt actions to tackle sexual harassment in public transport. So Lamata deployed the Shikan tool, and we still do. We use it to take decisions. So the tool can be used to either take decisions or get knowledge. And as Lamata being a public transport provider and local authority, we use it to take decisions in modifying bus terminals and specifications for buses or vehicles for public transport. Some of the interventions that we had selected and delivered are campaigns and education, which I'll talk on briefly, management, infrastructure, surveillance and policing, vehicle design, and legal framework. So under the campaigns and education, we had carried out a stakeholder mapping exercise in collaboration with the Lagos State's Sexual Violence Agency. This is an agency that caters for victims of sexual and domestic violence. So they offer advice, help to victims and witnesses of sexual harassment. So we have also come up with a Speak Up campaign. We call it Speak Up campaign, which creates more awareness on the need to understand sexual harassment and what to do, if we experience this. And we have this on our YouTube pages. We also have hotlines on the buses and terminals. And these hotlines are just the numbers of the agency, the Lagos State Sexual and Domestic Violence Agency. In terms of in terms of management, we have incorporated the SHICAN tool into our Lamata internal ISO quality management system. And by this, we have appointed SHICAN champions in various units and departments. These champions look out for cases of sexual harassment, for instance, in the rail and infrastructure department, where they need to design a bus terminal or they need to design a bus stop. They know that they must apply the tool in their design. The inclusion of lights, the inclusion of CCTVs, the inclusion of physical presence of security and digital presence. So those are the things that we put into consideration. We have also increased trainings and awareness on gender issues across decision makers. We have periodic meetings with drivers of bus operating companies, and we make sure that they are aware of this initiative and they carry it on. We identified gaps in infrastructural design of our bus stations and we had modified this. For instance, close proximity between the male toilets and the female toilets, because we understand that harassment can take as little as 2 minutes. So we have redesigned that to make sure that you're going to the gents, you go that way, you're going to the ladies, you're going that way. So there's no need for, both sexes to, be close together. We also have in place a gender equality policy in Lamata, which ensures that we recruit at least 40% of women. We have over 40% of women in our management team. And we have increased surveillance at ticketing queues. Sorry, I'm rushing because of time. Okay, so a few of the measures that we have developed through the use of the SHICAN tool is, well, I'd mentioned appointing SHICAN champions, but then we are currently working to deploy more emergency and panic buttons in our public transport stations and vehicles. And then ensuring that we have barrier-safe, free, and well-lit public convenience. The inclusion of more lighting and CCTVs in the buses and the bus stations. Okay. Another thing that we're doing, we're in collaboration with the Ministry of Science and Technology to make sure that Lagos is a smart city. We're deploying over 2,000 CCTV cameras on our corridors in Lagos, and we'll continue to do campaigns, speak up campaigns, update the ones that we have. Yes, so that's it. For more information, you can get more details from the links on the screen. Thank you.